Hey, my name is Guilherme and I help engineers to be high performing project managers. Today I'm going to answer a question that I get quite often, or several questions I get quite often about project management trainings and certifications. What do you think to consider while you are selecting a training or while you are looking for a certification? Well, the first thing that you need to understand that a project management training or any training that you do in your career or any type of certification that you can go for, they work like pieces of a puzzle. And what's the puzzle? Your puzzle is what's your career goal in 5 years or what's your career goal in 10 years. And why I'm saying that? You need to look for trainings, including if you're pursuing a career in project management, you need to look for trainings and for certifications that can help you to build this puzzle. And of course, if you just have one piece of the puzzle, you have more challenges in building up this full picture, and that will take longer. Well, but if you get a training that has more than one piece of this puzzle, it helps you to progress faster in your career. So, before thinking about different types of training, different types of certification, what do you need to think about? What's your 5 year career goal? And by 5 year career goal, I mean that you need to have some specific, you need to be specific there. Why? Because I talk with people and some people tell me, I want to be a project manager. And I say, that's nice. And which industry? Oh, in any type of industry. Okay, you're looking for work in your own country or you are looking for building an international career? Both. That means that it gets really difficult to plan something and to look for and to execute steps that can make you to get there. Why? Because there's basically everything. It's the same thing if I ask you, do you want to travel abroad? And you answer me yes. And I answer you, then my next question is, to where do you want to go? And then your answer is any place in the world. And then my next question, okay, when do you want to go? Anytime. I'm not sure if you ever travel, but it's basically impossible to plan something like that. Even if you say, I want to visit all countries in the world, you need to visit one country at a time and need to visit one after another one. So if you're planning a trip, you need to be more specific. Say, okay, I want to travel abroad. Where? I want to go to Italy. That's nice. How long do you want to stay there? I want to stay there for 1 month. When do you want to go? I want to go in summer. Okay, where do you want to visit? I want to visit Venice, Florence, Rome, uh, the Toscana, and okay, then it starts to be feasible, so you can plan something. Because if you want to go during summertime, you can start to look for tickets during summertime. You can start to look where you're going to stay in those cities. You are going to start to look where you're going to how you're going to move from one city to another. You can start to look what you want to visit in each of one of those cities. So you have pieces of things that you need to do that they are actionable there. And it's the same thing with your career. If you tell me that your career is basically anything, anytime, anywhere, yeah, then you cannot plan anything about it. So you need to be a bit more specific, like what kind of industry that you want to go. So then again, I know that's very nice to have possibilities, but choose something to start on. You need to select 2 or 3 industries to start on. And if you start to work there and you do not like it, you can change later on. But at least choose 2 or 3. And if you want to pursue an international career, you need to also have a short list of countries, maximum 2 or 3, because different countries they are going to look. You can have different requirements. For example, the CVs are different. The way they present the CV in the United States is different than the way they present the CV in Europe or in the Netherlands more specifically. And it's different from the way they present the CV in Brazil. So how to present your CV will change from country to country. The hiring process will change from country to country. Where they publish the positions will change from country to country. Gladly in Europe and also in the United States, most of the positions are already on LinkedIn. But I can tell you that unfortunately in Brazil, still there are a lot of companies that they do not put their positions on LinkedIn. So you also need to figure out other places where you can find those positions. I'm not saying that you are planning to go to Brazil or planning to go to the Netherlands, just to show you that those things are different. And I can tell even more because different countries, there's a lot of different languages in Europe. In some countries, if you do not speak the local language, that will going to be very difficult to, or much more difficult to find a position. Like Germany, if you do not speak German, the number of positions that you have there to apply only speaking English, it's much smaller than if you look for all the companies that you could work on if you speak German. The same thing, it goes the same thing for France. If you not speak French, it gets very difficult. Well, the number of positions available for you, it's much smaller. Well, in the Netherlands, still I do not speak Dutch, but there are still plenty of positions with English, so it makes easier. Other things past the language. Do you have a visa? Do you need a sponsorship? Some countries they have easier sponsorship than others. So having this first short list, that's how you're going to define your big picture there of your puzzle. Because now with this big picture, then you can start to plan the smaller pieces. And why I'm saying smaller pieces? Because I've heard from a lot of people saying, I did a master, I'm planning to do a master, I'm doing a master in project management, what should I do next? Well, what you should do next is start to apply for positions. But what happened? Those people, they do not know how to create a CV. So a master might be a piece in your puzzle, but there are other pieces like applying, creating a CV, applying for positions, prepare for job interviews after you're hired, having a good onboarding plan so you can speed it up in your work, get up to speed faster in your work. And if you're applying, if you're going to do it for a training, make sure that you understand how many pieces this training can cover. Because again, it's important, of course, build basic knowledge or fundamental knowledge in project management, having a nice foundation on project management. But only that by itself, it's not enough. You need other pieces of the puzzle, like leadership. Does your training include something on leadership? Include something on your CV? How to prepare for an interview? Does include anything from finance? If you're looking for something to project management, I do recommend you to learn if you want to be a project manager, a senior project manager in a few years. I do recommend you to learn waterfall. I do recommend you to learn lean lean management and have at least a basic knowledge on Lean Six Sigma. I do recommend you to learn Agile in general, Agile philosophy, Agile manifesto, and so on. I do recommend you to learn at least Scrum because Scrum is the most used Agile framework. I do recommend you to learn finance because you need to know uh, not know finance to be an accountant or to be a finance advisor, but knowing enough finance so you can manage, proper do a cost management, also business case management. And then I also recommend you to have some development on leadership, but also other stuff like how then kind of your career plan, understanding how you're going to prepare for a CV, how you prepare for an interview, things that you need to know to speed it up in your company. Because all those things are piece of the puzzle that they're required if you want to build for the next steps. Again, so if you're looking for trainings, but you do not understand how those things are there, it gets more difficult. And I also see the same challenge with certifications because people ask me, what certification should I go for? CMPI, CMPM, CAPM? Should I wait for a PMP? Should I go for PSP, PSM? Should I go for PSPO? Well, in reality, that depends. What's your goal? What's your target? How your puzzle should look like? You need to have those ideas because some stuff you are not going to be able to do it from one day to another. I can tell you by on my own experience. The first project management training I did was in 2009, and I've been doing trainings every year since then. And I've done a lot of different trainings in a lot of different stuff, including waterfall, scheduling, cost management, finance, lean, agile, scrum, kanban, and a lot of different stuff. But I can tell you some parts of this knowledge you need a bit of time so the knowledge can really sink in. Because of course, sometimes if you do the training, you do not have this experience, you have a superficial understanding of what does that mean. But to really go deeper into this knowledge, you need to have experience. You need to face different challenges in projects because then you can connect. Hey, but with that training there, I learned this kind type of knowledge. How I can apply this to my problem that I have right now on my hands. So it's quite important that you look for this big picture. And again, why I'm saying that, not that only you need time, because like if you're going to go for a PMP, even if you do it faster, even if you have the qualification right now, that's the 3 minimum years of working experience with project management to apply for that, very likely you need at least 3 months to get to the certification. So that's a constraint that you need to have in your plan. Because if you want to have a PMP right now, yeah, it's not going to happen. It has a process, and if you go fast there, you can do probably in 2 months, 3 months. Yes, but then also will require your time. Do you have the time right now, or time is another constraint that you don't have the time to apply yourself and this to study this right now? Do you have the money to pay for the exam yourself? So all those constraints there are there, and they're important. And if you do not understand those the big pictures, and if you do not understand their constraints, it gets much more difficult to progress in your career. I can tell you that I think around 2013 that I started dream to have to a possibility to have an international career. Then at the time, of course, I was already working as a project manager. I already had experience as a project manager with project management. Then I think, okay, might be good to do a certification. Then I'm saying, if I want to do a certification, what type of certification is out there that it's recognized, well recognized around the world that can help me if I want to go for an international career. Then I did my PMP in 2014, but that was also progress, was some steps into my developing into my big picture. And of course, there are all other type of constraints that you need to think about it. So when you are looking for a training, this big picture affects everything that you are looking for, everything that you are looking for. Like if you want to work, say I have zero knowledge with for project management, but I want to work, for example, with construction. I would say, okay, start learning waterfall. I still recommend you that you learn agile, that you learn lean, that you learn scrum, but start with waterfall. Why? Because that's the most used framework on in construction industry. If you're telling me that you are going to work with IT, software development, I'm going to tell you, start learning Scrum. At first Agile, then Scrum. Why? Because that's the most used framework into IT industry. And I still recommend it that you learn Waterfall because Waterfall will help you to have a more broader picture from a project than just if you look only for Scrum. But those are very important things while you're selecting something. Because if you end up going for a master, which I've seen and I get this question quite often, say, I did a master. What's next? Well, prepare your CV, start to apply for positions. But I do not know how to prepare my CV. Well, then you probably should have looked for a master that also provide this kind of support. And that there are universities, they have areas in the university to help you with your CV, with your career development, knowing yourself, self assessment for leadership skills, how to prepare for an interviews, all this career advice. It's important. Then, if you're going for a master or an MBA, think about that. And people tell me, I want to go for a master in project management. And I always ask, why? Because I want to work with project management. Yeah, but you don't need a master to work with project management. You can start to apply for positions, for entry level positions, of course, depending on your experience and your transferable skills, and that will also get you there. Most likely, it will get you there in a faster and cheaper manner than doing a master. But if you do not have this understanding from the picture that you are looking for, then it starts like the example I mentioned. You are trying to plan a trip, but you don't know to where, and that will get much more time consuming. So understanding how those pieces they fit together and then they how they are going to help you in your next step to your career to reach the goal, that's the frame from your puzzle. That's what's important. And that's the first thing that you should do before starting to look for trainings or certification. Make sure when you look for those different types of training, you understand what this training, how this training will help me. This training here is only one piece of the puzzle, or does it have several pieces in my puzzle that will put me in a better position for my next step? Because this is quite important, it's quite relevant. Because I've seen people saying, oh, I did like a Google project management training. That's very nice. What's next? Now I need to learn how to prepare my CV. Oh, maybe you should have looked for a training that also could help you to prepare your CV, to prepare for an interview. And I can tell this kind of stuff exists because I have my own training and I do that there. So I'm not telling you, that's why I'm saying this kind of stuff, because it's important to you to take into consideration. And I'm not saying, of course, you might say, I'm going to do a Google project management here, then I'm going to look for a mentorship here that can help me with my CV and my career application process. Then I'm going to do a leadership training here. Then I'm going to do a finance training here. Another, uh, then I have another link training here. That's okay. Then on top of that, you add up, I'm going to add here another certification. Maybe I'm going to do a professional Scrum Master. So if you have this clear plan, and if you then it makes easier, you can go action by action, step by step. Then you can take some real progress. Because what happened and what I've seen a lot, it's people saying, oh, no, I'm going to do a training. They do a training. Then they get lost with the career part, how to apply it, prepare CVs, apply for interviews. Then what I do next? I'm going to do a certification. Then they do one certification. Then you always feels nice. Okay, just pass the certification. Woohoo! Score! Which is nice, huh? I also have my certifications. I also get happy with that. But then what's next? Then they say, I'm going for another certification, which is not a problem. But at some point, only getting certifications after some point will not help you anymore to get a job. Like it's like a degree. Like I have an engineering degree, so The engineering degree, they kind of provide you like a base, like a threshold, but there it's not going to guarantee a job, it's not going to guarantee your performance. So there's a lot of different things to do. So if you would look for a career, does not make sense and say, "Ah, I'm going to do an engineering degree. Now I'm going to do a philosophy degree. Now I want to do a pharmaceutical degree. Now I want to," and you just keep studying, but you do not apply anything. Because here's the thing, all the trainings that you're going to get, everything you're going to do, again, you can get a more superficial knowledge, but the knowledge will really start to sink in you once you start to apply, once you see different challenges, once you see different applications for the knowledge that you have. So some of those stuff you're going to really understand the challenge that you have there. You're going to say, okay, now I understand why, because during this finance training, they talk about those items here in a business case, or they talk about NPV, they talk about CapEx, OpEx, IRR, payback. Okay, now I understand how those items they fit in my reality here because I see a business case in front of me. I understand what the company is asking me. Then I can make the connection. Then I can connect the pieces of the puzzle. But again, this is so important because I've seen people with a lot of that did a lot of those trainings. I've seen people with five, six, seven certifications, but in the end, they still are facing challenges to find a job as a project manager. Why? Because first, they do not know how to prepare a CV. They do not know how to prepare for interviews. And second, they have a theoretical knowledge, but they do not have those practical knowledge. So if you go for an interview and people they are going to say, "I have my seven certifications here," and probably the interviewer will say, "That's quite nice and it's good to have certifications." Again, I'm not against that. What's the size? What's the size of project that you have you ever managed? Then you say, none. What's the size of the team that you manage? What's the size of the budget that you manage? What type of product to do that or service or whatever you're developing that help that you've already seen? Then you say nothing. So be it. You cannot go for a senior position because you simply do not have the experience. It does not matter if you have 10 certifications there because again, I'm not against the certifications, but that's not what matters in the real world. The real world, what matters is the value that you're delivering for the company. And the trainings, they should help you to increase the value that you're delivering for the company. The certifications, they should help you to guarantee that you have a knowledge that can help you to deliver more value for the company. The certifications help you to get interviews, but there's where I stop. That's why I'm saying if you already have this level here of certification, say, keep building on that does not matter because it will not help you in practice. And sometimes it more create more problems because if you have 7, 10 certifications, people might look, okay, you cannot have an entry level position because you are overqualified for that. Then the company think that this guy will stay here for 6 months. He will use this as this is a trampoline, and we'll move for the next one. Then we don't want to hire this person here. So at some point, it it will not help you, and then you're committing there your time, you're committing there your money with something that's not going to help you. So if you're looking for trainings, find something with the right pieces in the puzzle that can enables you for the next step to get a job. Once you get a job, you start to get experience. Then, of course, makes sense that you're going to look for more pieces in the puzzle. So you also can grow your maturity. You can speed it up your career and everything there. This is important. This is relevant. But you should not try to have only one piece for it of the puzzle and just go for the next one. So because then you cannot make even the connections because there are so many pieces that are missing that you do not understand. and you do not understand this yourself and you cannot explain this for a company to hire you. So it's quite important and relevant that you look for much more stuff, and everything will start with this picture. Then with this picture you start having this training understanding. Then it makes sense. For example, I'm looking for, oh, say I have 3 years of project management experience and I want to work in the construction industry. Then it makes sense to go for a PMP. Then I agree with you to go for a PMP. But I see people that say, I want to start with project management right now. I don't have any experience, any knowledge, but I want to go for a PMP. Well, first of all, you cannot go for a PMP because to apply for, even for apply for a PMP, it requires project management experience. So you cannot apply for that. And the way to learn, it's not the first step to learn, it's not looking for a certification, because when you are studying for a certification, you also have uh, a focus that's a bit different than just learning project management. Because what you're doing there, you're also learning how you're going to pass the exam. It's the same thing that if you are in the if you are in the school and you are studying for a test. Well, you need to learn how you're going to pass the test. It's not only about the knowledge, but for example, the PMP examination, the exam takes 4 hours. If I remember right, in the top of my head, you need to answer 180 questions. So you need to time each question. So you have a time cap for each question to make sure that you also can pass. Then it's not only a matter of developing the knowledge, but also make sure that you can do solve questions fast enough. And there's a lot of tips and tricks that you can learn to answer a question faster. But not necessarily these tips and tricks, they are increasing your project management knowledge. So if you are starting with project management, you start to learn project management. Of course, again, look for the pieces of the puzzle from what you want to build there in 5 years. Then you also make sure you plan the certifications in this journey. Certifications are important, they're good, they're going to help in your career. Again, I'm not against certifications. I have my certifications myself, and I think that's something quite important. So you that can help you to grow in your career. I'm just saying that if you want to start with project management, that's not your first step. First step, start to lay down a good foundation. Again, what I think you need to work on. First, you good that if you work in your mindset, because everything will start there. It's good that if you learn waterfall. It's good that if you learn agile in general. If you look good that you learn Scrum. Good that you need to understand Lean. Lean management also have an idea about Lean Six Sigma. You need to learn finance because you need to know how to manage, how to do a proper cost management, how to do a business case management. You need to have some idea on leadership and how to really work on the day to day as a project manager. You also need to learn how to prepare a CV. You need to know how to prepare for interviews. You need to know once you are hired, um, do you have a plan how you get up to speed in a company? Those are very important things, and how those things are required to you to perform. So it's not saying, I just have a Google Project Management here and now I'm going for it. And again, nothing against any type of training, nothing against the Google Project Management trainings you can find Udemy, Coursera, or whatever. What you need to understand if those trainings can really support your need. And by supporting your need is the knowledge need, which I think, or I do hope that you select a training that at least can give you a theoretical foundation there, but you also need to make sure that this training start to help you to make connections with reality. And those connections with reality can be experience, shared cases, but also you make sure that you have um, that you do some exercise, make sure that you have the support to take the next steps. And why I'm saying also the support? Because doing everything for by yourself, it can be hard. And the world that we live on, you don't need to do it by yourself. Only if you want, of course. If you tell me that you have enough time and have enough money and you're going to do everything by yourself, be my guest. The word it's out there. But you don't need to go for this entire process out there. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. There's a lot of stuff there. There's a lot of experience there. There's a lot of knowledge there. So make sure that you leverage up, because if your plan is to get somewhere in 5 years, now make sure that you are using everything that you can to leverage up this plan, and not just say, I'm going to do a 2 year master in Canada because I want to work with project management. Then you figure out by the end of the master, then you need to learn how to apply for a CV. Then after you create your CV, then you decide that you want to go for a construction company. Then you learn out that most of the companies, to hire a project manager, they want someone with an engineering degree, which by the way, you don't have it. So you have another challenge there. Then in another 6 months, you have, or you find a job, or you need to leave the country because you need a company to sponsor your visa. That's what I'm saying. It's important to think about it up front, because I've seen did happen in practice. I've seen, unfortunately, people around me and did not end up well. I've seen people burning down their savings with completely without a plan, without any type of thinking, just doing as I'm going to do. Yeah, I'm not saying that you should not do stuff, and I'm not saying you should not take actions. I'm not saying that you should not go for a training, you should not go for a certification. I'm just saying that think about it. It's your life, it's your career. So only you can have this picture there and where you want to be and how do you want to grow. That's why it's so difficult to get a good answer when I get this question. When people say, I want to work with project management. Okay, where? What industry? What country? Where do you want to be? What's your background? Background, I mean, do you have a degree? What did you study? Do you have experience? Can you leverage your experience? And all those things they matter, because more you can leverage your background and your experience, easier to get to a project management position might be. Again, I'm not saying that if you do not have an engineering degree you cannot work in construction. No, you can. It's just an additional barrier that you need to break through, and that might take more time. But if you have another time constraint or money constraint, you might not want to take the most difficult path right now. Go for your steps first step. Start work with project management. And then of course you can continue to learn, continue to grow your network to make transition for other industries. You don't need to change an industry forever. I've already worked with energy construction in Brazil. I've already worked with the automotive sensors. I've already worked with automotive air suspension development. And now I'm working with semiconductor. I also passed briefly through healthcare, self development. So you don't need to constrain yourself. You just need to make sure that you are building the right blocks there that will help you to further progress in your career, to make sure that you end up where you want to end up, and in the fastest way possible and with less hurdle as possible. And of course, you're always going to face challenges. Everyone, there are all types of challenges in the journey, and everyone has their own challenges. But I can tell you, for a lot of things, it's much easier to learn from other people's experience than try to knock your head yourself. So, to close, make sure that you understand what's your 5 year plan, where do you want to be in 5 years, before you just select the training, and start to understand the pieces of the puzzles where that you need to be there in 5 years. And those pieces of the puzzle, again, in my perspective, they are going to pass to develop your mindset, your leadership skills. It's going to pass to learning waterfall, to learn Agile, to learn Scrum, to learn Lean Management, to learn finance, to learn how to prepare a CV, how to prepare for interviews, and then how you get up to speed in a company once you're hired. I hope you like this content. If you like it, please click in the button like here. Also make sure that if you think it's interesting for someone, share with this person there that might be interesting on there. If you have questions or if you have comments or you want to give me some feedback, please share here in the comments. I'm looking forward to hear back from you. Also, if you're interested, you can follow my page on Instagram. There I share daily content, daily project management content to help you to progress into your career. Again, I hope you like it.